I would help if I started the virtual camera.
And there's at least two versions of this. Because I've got both. There's this one, and there's one that has a hub built in,
So you could plug more USB stuff in?
and it has a slot for your mouse cord. There's a
Oh, yeah.
plug there. So you can have both your cables come out side by side.
You remember I was telling you about that weird TI mainframe thing that I had that used all fiber connections? That thing had a funky keyboard on it too. Like, it did some funky, had some funkiness going on.
Oh,
Howdy. Howdy. You look like you're getting ready to do a sea shanty song. Howdy.
I have been cold for an entire week.
Yeah, that's where Patty's at right now. I'm cold. It's 70 some odd degrees in the house. Why are you cold?
oh yeah. We have heat.
Put a sweatshirt on. Okay. Now I'm
Now I'm
hot.
You can't let her hear this while you're editing.
I know. Oh, she already knows. I mean, it's not like it's a secret. To walk in. Are you cold? No. I'm freezing to death. Well, the heat's on. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I keep the house within 3 degrees winter or summer. And I will give, if you're near a wall, you can tell that there's no
Yeah.
heat coming from that wall,
Right.
but still the air is comfortable. Oh, sorry. Here.
Oh, hey, I'm fine. Hot dog bag.
Hot pot bag.
I have many of those if you need some.
I have 2 laptops and 3 bags. So
Amateur.
that's the 3rd bag.
I have,
I was just telling Pat that one of the wheels on this bag stopped working. I said, I think I'm going to get a new bag. And here you come walking in. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any wheels, and this stinking thing weighs 20 some odd pounds. It's a pain in the butt to carry. It doesn't weigh that much, but it's heavy. It's a heavy laptop.
I've got some that have wheels.
I sit out there while I was waiting, and I just sit there and work. I think a piece of salt got lodged into it, and it just froze up. It working now.
And that would have made it thaw out.
Yeah. Should have made it work longer. But
Thank you.
This has nothing to do with technology. From an electronic standpoint. Earlier this year, we developed a crack. Teeth roots. And they said the tooth cannot be saved. It will have to be extracted because the crack is in the root. So I looked at the available options and we chose to set up to have an implant done. Now, we prepared the site with some donor bone, graft and all that. And last week, it had healed appropriately, and we go into the dentist. And we start talking about the process of putting this implant in. And he indicates he's gonna make an incision in the gum, fold the tissue back, and center punch the jawbone and then drill successively larger holes in it. And so he's down looking at the drill bit in the pneumatic drill. And so he gets it and says, now we're going to check to make certain it's straight. So he puts a pin in it and they do an x-ray. And yes, they and all the orientations. And so he continues to drill larger holes and comes up with the implant. And it's a beautiful piece of small inner stainless steel, 4.7 millimeters by 2.3 millimeters. And it's tapered. We had threads around it. I talked to him and I said, if this was a piece of metal, I would center punch it, drill it, and then tap it.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, this has got self-tapping threads. So he puts it in, threads it in his fingers. And this is absolutely painless. It's not disturbing in any ways.
You're on good drugs.
He pulls out a torque wrench.
Torques it.
A torque wrench, and this is, he says, this is set to the correct Newton centimeters torque. So I open my mouth and sticks the torque wrench in, engages it in the insert, and it's ratcheting the insert in, and when it gets to the break point, it tips over and does it again, and it's like, I never in my entire life imagined that someone would be torquing something into my jawbone. There was no pain, no discomfort, nothing. It was an amazing process.
And do that. I hate dentists to start with.
When my tooth was really bothering me, I did go to the dentist, and I was quite impressed that the dentist of old was not the dentist that I went to. And I was like, I even told him, I was scared to come to a dentist because I just knew you guys was having medieval torture devices. That's all in the past. It's all modern, and they can do stuff without pain. And I'm like,
Well, and the guy that I go to, he wants to examine an area very closely. And he has a thumb size digital camera. And I get a picture of the size of that screen of a minuscule area. Wow.
well, that was the other thing, right? I mean, I'm laying in the chair, which pretty much every kind of doctor chair, right? But there's screens up, and I'm like, wow, I can actually see what you guys are doing. You're not really trying to keep it a secret. It's but the tooth that was bothering me, finally, the front half of it that was broken, it had split, and there were two pieces in there. And it was causing some pain, but I had long since got used to it. But the front part finally worked its way loose and just came out, and now I've got the back part still in there, and I'm sure if I went to a dentist now, they would have a conniption because I've got half a tooth in there. But it's not bothering me. It's not causing me any pain. It's actually a whole lot less painful than the original.
Well, this,
Oh, Art's here. We probably need to let Art in. Howdy, Art. Art's not saying anything. Can you hear us, Art?
I certainly can.
Okay. You're not real loud.
Let me adjust that.
My volume is 100%, and we can
Yeah.
just hear you.
But I don't hear him through the TV.
We haven't heard him through the TV in a long time. So
Let's see.
this laptop does not like taking the audio out to the TV. I don't know.
Well, in this case, it's because Art has his microphone up here.
Oh yeah, your microphone's up on your ear. Put your microphone in front of your face.
I guess that's probably the reason you can't hear me.
There you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay.
So
well, when you speak off the top of your head, that's the other position.
at least we knew you were talking. I mean,
Okay. So what's up?
well,
That's it.
I went to the Mason Library this afternoon.
Okay.
I was kind of going to wait to see if Vicente showed up before we open a big discussion, but I don't know,
Now, Art, are you in any of the areas that are currently on fire?
If you're talking about the areas that are on fire in California, no, I'm in San Francisco Bay Area, and we're not on fire here.
My brother lives in Daly City.
In what?
Daly City,
Yeah.
and I'm not altogether that familiar with the topography and stuff, but he lives there. I believe it's Diablo Canyon Road, right up the slope from that. And he's always concerned that if they did have a wildfire in that area, it would speed up that really steep incline and be in his back door before they ever had an idea that it was even going.
Well, Diablo Canyon is in the East Bay, kind of straight east of Oakland. So Daly City, on the other hand, is out on the peninsula, so south of San Francisco. But
Maybe the road wrong.
But at any rate, bottom line is we haven't had any problems with fires here. The fires are in Southern California, and that's 400 miles away from where I live. So, what people in the East don't realize is you're closer to Chicago than I am to LA by quite a bit. So,
yeah, I don't think people realize just how big California really is, top to bottom. It's huge.
When we go out, and I have business in LA, in order to see my brother, we don't rent a car and drive, we fly up to SFO.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
Yeah.
So,
I was playing I think it was like Trivial Pursuit or something, and one of the questions was, which is bigger? And they gave me like 4 choices. I went, well, that's easy. It's California, just because it's 1,000 miles across,
Yeah.
top to bottom.
that's more like 1,500 miles.
Yeah, well, my rough guessing was it was 1,000 miles, and I was like,
Yeah, it's a long
easy,
ways.
easy. It's California.
Yeah.
But I was guessing that because of when I go to Florida, and it's about 1,000 miles to go to Florida. And you can look at the map and go, yeah, that's about the same distance.
Well, where I live is in the San Francisco Bay Area, and that's only about 2/3 of the way up the state.
Yeah,
There's a lot of California north of me here before you get to the Oregon border.
and maybe that's what I forget how the question was worded, but it was worded really weirdly, and I was like, oh, it's easy, it's California. There's no question that it's California. But
So, at any rate, you've been scouting for a new location.
well, yes, it's getting increasingly hard to get this room. So, we've got some options available to us. We could either switch days again, which I don't know if anybody really wants to do that.
Well, this is just my quick observation. If we switch and stay, it doesn't matter what day it is,
Yeah,
but where we,
switch back and forth,
yeah,
back and
today
forth.
is Wednesday and tomorrow is Thursday, and
Yeah, I
Uh,
know, I totally agree.
I wouldn't know where we are supposed to be on a particular day.
Yes, if we switch days, it's going to be, this is our new day until it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um,
well, the facility there at Midpoint is very nice. There's no question about that. But that's probably one of the reasons we're having difficulty hanging on to it.
that's my thought. And Mason, the Mason Public Library is just a tad bit closer to us. It's just a tad bit further away for Steve and some of the people coming up.
I don't know.
Yeah, you might actually be a little bit closer there.
Well, Steve and I are about the same distance from Midpoint,
Yeah,
but Mason is closer to straight north from Steve and I.
yeah.
So you go.
It really it's 22 miles from my house to here. It's 19 miles from my house to Mason. So it's just a tad bit close. I mean, it's closer. It's close enough to say it's closer, but
Yeah, once you get in the car and you get on the highway,
yeah,
it's in the field.
yeah. And Mason Library is a much smaller library. I mean, it's a small. The lady I talked to there, she said that they're actually an independent library. There's no other, they're not hooked up with any other library. They, so if we check books out, they have to go back to their library. But they were very accommodating to things, and she said really the room, they've got two rooms, one's a study room, which I imagine is small. It says it can hold like 10 people. And the other one is about this size, and it says that it could hold about 50 people. I cannot imagine 50 people in this room.
I was gonna say, you'd have to stack them
I,
too deep.
she says that the fire marshal told them they could put 50 people in this room, and I'm like, okay. I don't see it.
Real good friends.
I mean, it is a tad bit bigger than this room, but it's
Not 50.
not 50 people big. Instead of, she said there is a TV in the room that we could use, but she said that may or may not always be available. They may need that for other things. They've got a projector though, which is always in the room. So that was the preferred method for that room. They got one table set up with probably 10 chairs around it. So it's roughly like this. And they've got it set up so that the table goes from widthwise instead of lengthwise. So there's a lot of open space. So if we wanted to bring robots or larger projects, we have a floor. And she said, really, nobody really takes advantage of that room. They don't. There are people that book that room, but nobody really uses it. So that was the room that she thought we could probably get reasonably, and if we tell the director who's actually in charge of the room, who wasn't there, then she thought that we could probably set up once every couple of week meeting. Or
May I ask about this room? Is Thursday the problem, or it's just throughout the week it's busy?
Thursday, yes. It's a little bit of both. This is a very, very popular library apparently, and if you aren't right on top of it to book the room, you've missed it. I mean, as soon as the booking becomes available,
It's gone.
it's gone. So I would say, I mean, that's pretty much the problem that I had with February, was I missed it by a couple hours and it's gone. Just okay. I don't know. That's why last week I said, asked for possible alternatives. I like Midpoint. I think Midpoint's a great library, but if they're very popular, then everybody likes Midpoint. So, I think that's part of the problem. Is this is a nice room. The people are friendly. It's a resource that people have come to realize is actually here. And COVID pretty much changed everything. I mean, we had this room booked for months advance, and then when they canceled all the reservations because of COVID, we lost all that. It was just gone. So at one point, we could have continued here ad infinitum because that was how their booking thing worked. So,
Well, it's a nice facility, and if we could stay, that would be ideal. But if we have to move, whatever
I
works out is,
I don't know if we have to move. I'm throwing the idea out there that there are other options. And it sounds like if I am understanding this lady at the other library correctly, we could go back to weekly in-person meetings. Which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing or an in-between thing. But she says that depending upon what the actual director says, there's a possibility we could get the room booked for much longer than just a couple of times a week.
now, we don't lose anything if we try it out.
No. No, and that's kind of what I'm thinking is February, well, I'm already booked for here. I'm thinking if we try it in February and it's something that we like and we can deal with or whatever, it might be an opportunity.
So do you bring all of the video equipment?
Well, like I said, they've got a TV and a projector. They've got, all the stuff that you would need to use the TV and projector, pretty much like here, in the cat, in the drawers there's HDMI cords and whatever. They've got Wi-Fi, so.
But you bring the two video cameras.
Yes, I bring the camera and the microphone. And I always have. That's always been a thing that I have done. What keeps clicking? I keep hearing like a bing. I don't
That was me, I think.
Okay. I heard that last week too. Was that you last week? I couldn't figure out what that was. I kept looking around like,
I didn't realize it was feeding through.
oh, well. It's fine. It sounds like the Wi-Fi connection on my laptop keeps disconnecting and reconnecting.
Well, speaking of Wi-Fi, what type of Wi-Fi service does the other library have?
From
Something usable.
from the website, it just says Wi-Fi is available.
Via dial-up.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised that Warren, she told me Warren County, all the libraries are independent of each other, but none of them are.
Like to
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by that. But she said there's 5 libraries in Warren County and none of them are. They're all independent.
I may have mentioned a friend of mine in Kansas City has Google Fiber,
Nice.
and he was and moved to an assisted living, and he said the speed there is equivalent to dial-up. So if he has anything serious to do, he gets in the car and drives over to his actual house. But it's kind of inconvenient for him. I know we don't need 980 down
Speak for yourself.
here for this. But if we had to do dial-up speed, we'd be getting in the car and driving somewhere else.
I did. That was one thing that I didn't actually investigate was the Wi-Fi. It says Wi-Fi is available, and I just assumed it's the library, so it's gonna be hit or
Yeah.
miss.
In Mason, it should be good.
It should be all right. It should be all right. It. Honestly, when I went in there about 2:30 this afternoon. There weren't a whole lot of kids. There weren't, yeah, I mean. It looked like a whole entirely older crowd of people. Getting their books. Going on their merry way, and. Nobody looked like they were just sitting around. Hiking and. Or had their cell, I probably was the only person in there that had my cell phone out. You know, making sure that.
Well, just for my opinion. If we have the ability to access this room and continue to use it, even if we only do in person a couple of times.
Like this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the room. If we get less access than what we have been having the last couple of months.
Yeah,
then-
and it seems like it's.
Yeah. And as it diminishes at some point. Let's
Well,
give it a try.
Like last week, Steve was here and ended up in a small room, but I mean, he was here by himself. But
Yeah, I didn't ask them for this room.
yeah. And I agree, there was probably no reason to kick out the people that were in here just because one person needed the room. But it's a popular room. I don't know if it's a popular room because it's Thursday or if it's a popular room because it's a popular room, or both, or any of the above. This library has the benefit of having the maker space. So, I mean,
That's a
that's a big plus for our group.
We've never had a meeting in there.
No, but we have had them build maps and stuff for us.
Yeah, occasionally I have had stuff printed at their lab, the 3D print.
Which we could print for you.
Well, Steve and I bought an ender from
So did
Ray
Leroy.
at the same time.
So did I. I'm the one that figured out what was wrong with those enders.
And what's with the ender is the operator. It is sitting on top of an HP printer still in the box in my living room. So
There you go.
Wait, the printer's still in the box or the ender's still in the box?
the
Or
ender
both.
is sitting on top of the box that contains the printer.
Steve has gone a little crazy with printers too.
Yeah. I think I have 4. I know I have 4. I might have 5. Yeah.
I finally got rid of my old Wanhu. That would have been second generation printer, and finally got rid of it. So I am down to 5 printers,
3D or regular.
3D.
Oh, if we're counting regular ones.
I'm running through the thing. I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 regular printers.
I rarely
7.
need anything actually printed. I've got one regular printer, but Ray has, I know he's got a plotter. Did he get the
No,
no,
the Staples people at the very last minute said, "Oh, no."
can't do
have
that.
And it was like, I had driven out there. And the guy says, yeah, you can come get it. And I drove out there and he said,
No,
no, you can't.
no, we found out this is something else and we can't give it to you.
I suspect, this is negative on my part, but I suspect that a more close friend of theirs was the reason that
Yeah.
I couldn't get it.
I'm honestly surprised that HP didn't want it back. I would have figured that would have been on lease to them or something.
Well, I looked at the printer, I went in and examined it, and it was well used.
Yeah,
They had, that particular printer also had a wide body scanner in it, so you could scan it. I think it was a 36-inch wide.
yeah.
Which would be handy.
Very, very rare.
Well, if you had to do it, you could cut it up and
Yeah.
paste it, shift it around and do the various iterations on a flatbed.
There's actually a company down in Cincinnati that has drum scanners that can scan very wide.
Really?
So it's not like we actually ever need it done, but
Yeah.
I know some resources somewhere that can do it if we needed it. Yeah, they had a big auction down there a few years ago, and they were trying to get somebody to bid on these drum scanners, older models. These things were the size of this freaking room, and nobody, not even the industrial guys, wanted to mess with them. They were freaking huge. But the company didn't go out of business or anything. They were just trying to get rid of old inventory to bring new stuff in. Yeah. Apparently my dad has said that Midpoint Middletown has also put in a makerspace.
I have heard that, but I hadn't been down there to see.
I haven't been in there yet either, but if that's true, I mean, there's resources close-ish to us. Because I asked the lady, I said, is there a makerspace or large format printers or anything? And she said, no. We're still independent, so we've got to watch how we budget our money and everything. I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense, especially when just 3 miles down the road there is Westchester, and 19 miles up the road there's Middletown, and 20 miles down into Cincinnati there's maker spaces down there. So
Well, I was inquiring for my sister who has 13,000 photographs that she wants to scan in. And she lives in Kansas City. And I called all around all the library systems in Kansas City to see whether there was an equivalent. No. When I asked them the question, the response that I got over the telephone was, "Are you out of your mind?"
I've been talking to a guy who I 3D printed some stuff. He lives up in a rural part of Michigan, and I sent it up to him. He sent me a shipping label and I sent it up to him. He wanted to know about setting up a makerspace, and so one week I took a whole bunch of pictures of ours and sent them up to him, and the basic thing was nobody up here has any kind of idea about technology. So they would have to hire somebody, probably have to move them up because they're in a rural area.
Where?
It's right along what's that other state the Upper Peninsula,
Michigan,
the Upper Peninsula of Michigan
Mhm.
borders. It's right along
Wisconsin,
Wisconsin.
okay,
And I even said, I said, well, aren't you close to, one of the larger cities in Wisconsin? He said, it's 100 miles away. It's,
yeah. But there's Eau Claire, which is where Cray Computer operated out of quite a while. I'm surprised they don't have a fair amount of technical folk up there.
yeah. Well, he seemed impressed with what we had, but the library wasn't real sure about how to go about implementing any of it because non-technical folks look at 3D printers and go,
Now they're so inexpensive.
well, that was pretty much what I told her. I said, for, $1,000, you could get 7 3D printers and be perfectly happy with them. The enders are, especially if you buy in bulk, if you
Yeah.
call Micro Center up and say, hey, I want 10 of these things, what would you sell them to me for? I know you can get a deal out of them.
Yep. Yeah, Micro Center is fun to play with.
But he even said, I don't have a Micro Center close to me, so he would have to come to like Toledo or somewhere.
Milwaukee. I think there's one in Milwaukee.
But
Hmm.
I understand how some small library systems probably can't or won't because they just don't have people that know or access to the resources
I had to laugh here. I'm reminded of an episode of Cheers where Woody comes walking in with a box and says, this VCR is gonna be a snap to set up. They sent me a videotape. And Norm is at the bar and he goes, 5. And they start calling out other numbers from inside the bar. And later on in the episode, you hear Woody from the other room go, hey. And there is no conversation about this. All you hear is the numbers. And Norm looks down and he says, who had 8? And they have silently taken the bets and whoever called on 8 scored. So if you are going to get on the internet and get this technology, you could order it and have it shipped in. And I'm sure that it would be the same type of situation. Oh, this will be a snap to set up.
Well, I mean, like the Anycubic printer that I just bought, it pretty much comes in the box ready to go. You pull it out, you plug a few wires in, and you do a couple of things. The instructions are very simple, but I could see somebody who has never, ever, ever played with a 3D printer going, what are they talking about? I plug this tube into this tube. And even because their instructions weren't as clear as they could be, I didn't realize that the tube going from just a single roll had to be plugged into a certain hole. Otherwise, the printer didn't recognize the fact that the filament was there. That took me all of about a minute to figure out, but
Yeah.
But-
you're used to solving those types of problems.
that's what I was going to say. I have had 3D printers, many 3D printers, knowing that it didn't work. I knew there was an answer. I just didn't know exactly what that answer was.
So you had to fiddle with it.
So I fiddled with it for a minute and went, oh, well,
Yeah.
why didn't they just say plug it in the hole 1? I mean, but as far as actual setup goes, that was as easy a printer. You buy the Crealities, and you got them from Ray, so they probably were already put together.
Yeah.
But And the one I gave you was already put together,
Mhm.
but you get these Corellities and they are in parts and the instructions are not friendly instructions.
Very English.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can see where somebody who had never ever played with a 3D printer before would go, because I struggled with getting that Creality working. That Creality and me were about ready to go rounds because
Well, I'm
That was-
reminded when I was a young teenager, the woman that lived on the street behind us talked to my dad and said, I'm having trouble with the faucet in my kitchen. Could you look at it for me? And so I went over and we hopped over the fence and went in. And she said, I tightened up the screws, but it's still dripping. And she had tightened up the screws holding the soap dish onto the faucet. And he, as a 12 or 13-year-old, it was impossible for me to conceive of someone who would have a rough idea that those had nothing to do with the faucet. They're holding the soap dish on. And that was my first realization that there are people in the world that should not be turned loose with tools.
Mm. One of the things I liked about the Prusa was, first off, put this together was a 85-page book. Like
And-
somebody at IKEA had designed it. And there were quite a few places where do this. If that didn't work, did you do step 14, 7 pages back? Oh, I did skip that. It was an amazingly well done manual. The printer's okay. The manual is great.
See, I would liken the experience of the Intercubic to that of an IKEA
Yeah.
thing. With just about as iffy pictures. Some of the
Oh.
pictures for some of the put together furniture is
No, one of
iffy.
the things that about every 10 pages they pushed on the Prusa was this arrow means turn it this direction.
Yeah, see,
This arrow means do this.
mine
and
did have stuff like that.
It was very good at turn it to the left and
now-
tighten this screw.
I will tell you, they went through tightening procedures and they went through all of it. The biggest thing that I found to be the problem was when it actually came to plugging the PFT tubes in,
Mhm.
they didn't show where those tubes needed to go.
Oh.
They just kind of said plug them in and I'm like, "Oh, okay,
They're plugged in.
they're
Now
plugged
what?
in, now what?"
Got one going into the outlet in the wall. Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, you can only plug them into holes where they plug in, but
Yeah.
if you're only using a single roll of filament and you're not using the multi-deck, it needs to go into hole one.
Mhm.
Nowhere, anywhere in that instruction did it say it has to go in hole one. It just said plug the tube in and use the single roll. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I know now, but that was probably its biggest failure as far as the manual goes. Otherwise, everything was wonderful. It told you stuff like you had never 3D printed before. It told you why it was important for tensioning on certain parts and
Why not to tighten?
and
that
why
belt
not to
this tight?
tighten and where to lubricate certain things
Yeah.
that other printers don't really tell you
Well, I saw an interesting video that didn't have anything to do with the physicality of the 3D printers. If you looked at the strength of the object you were printing. And this was a thrust bearing that was being printed. And the guy said, well, you don't want to print it flat. You want to make it hex on the outside and stand it up on edge. And the stresses then will be perpendicular to the laminations, so it won't break. And I thought it was rather interesting that there'd be a structural analysis of the print depending on what it's going to be used for.
That happens a lot with 3D printing. There's a thing that's been going around lately on displacing every other layer by an amount so that this trace is laid between the traces before it because it adheres better and makes it stronger. I've been trying to figure out how to convince my presser to do that.
It'd be kind of neat to be able to digitize a turntable.
There's a printer that does that. Actually,
Yeah.
that it's a rotating bed instead of
So other than Cartesian coordinates or radial.
yeah. And it's a hacked reality
Oh.
is what it is. He hacked an Ender 3 and used an Ender 10 power supply because the power supply in the Ender 10 is bigger or something. But
Talking about the Pi, are you?
do what?
The printer Pi or whatever it's called?
No, I forget what it's called. It's on YouTube.
Octopi is the printer Pi to me,
Octopi, yeah.
which is nice.
Bill Steele took a MakerBot and redesigned it on a rotating platform or whatever, and did a polar coordinate system.
Yeah, the one that I saw, I think was based on that. He said other people had done it before, so he based it on something else. But he used cheap printers that
I say Bill did this like 15 years ago or something. MakerBot gave him all their leftover parts, and he started up a company. Makes I forget what it's called, like something Pi. It's still out there. I haven't seen him for years, so I don't know how it's doing, but they hired like some people to be the board and COE of it or whatever. And
it's I don't know. I watched this guy's video and I watched it print some stuff and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll stick with the standard 3D printer. I'm not ready to hack my 3D printer.
Yeah, but if you're printing around stuff, it'll give you much cleaner edges.
The Persa software doesn't have a way to offset the.
Not that I've seen. That seems to be a new thing, and I'm rebuilding Persa right now.
I think Orca does.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because I was messing with something and I got some horrible prints and I went, maybe I shouldn't mess with that. I didn't know what it was or what it did, and I just started messing with stuff just to see. And sometimes you just mess with stuff to see what it does.
Yeah. I've had lots of oops, should have done that.
I took I forget what it was called, but it makes the top layer extremely fine and it's beautiful, but it went from like a 45-minute print to almost a 3-hour print.
Oh,
yeah. But you do not see any lines or anything in the top layer. It's beautiful. And I went, wow, this printer is actually pretty amazing. I won't use that setting anymore, but This is pretty amazing.
Well, along the idea of 3D printing, have you been following this assassination of the healthcare insurance in New York City?
Only a little.
They are alleging he used a 3D printed gun.
Yep.
And I'm thinking nothing in the compression chamber or anything like that is going to be capable of withstanding
Well,
those pressures.
No, you use a piece of tubing pipe for the barrel.
Oh,
Um,
GE, they first demo I saw of 3D printing was they printed a 911 right in a laser printer. 3D printed sand. You take it out, put the spring in it, and fired.
I'm sorry, I could not understand.
They 3D print metal. So like GE's got printers that'll print metal guns. I would assume the university that he graduated from had them too.
But
yeah,
it's a different technology than our home industry.
well, actually, it's kind of funny because there was an article this week where it's open. Somebody's open sourcing. You can build your own 3D metal printer now. Home. Pretty cheap.
What alloy are they printing?
Iron.
and I've seen them with stainless, not in home stuff, but stainless, bronze, steel, iron, brass. You start off with dust, shine a laser on it, that melts enough to solidify, you scrape a little bit of dust over the top, go with laser again.
And for years, people have been playing around with sticking solder into FDM printers. For years, people have been playing around with that. Not that it works well, but people have been doing it.
Can't cool it down quick enough.
You can't cool it down fast enough. And there's even some filament that you can buy that's got metal filings in it, but you'll end up ruining your print nozzle
You know,
eventually.
you can 3D print most of a pistol. You need a barrel, you need a block, the rest, and the pin. The rest can be plastic.
And
Yeah, everything else can be plastic.
I'm sorry, Art, I didn't quite hear you.
Everything but the barrel and the firing pin and the trigger spring and so forth. There are a few parts that have to be metal. Everything else can be plastic. I mean, certainly the handle and the all the rest of the stuff is.
I'm thinking in terms of me personally, if I'm going to throw a pistol in a suitcase and drive to New York, I don't give a shit whether the handle's plastic.
Yeah. There's a
There's
guy.
no advantage to me in having half a weapon be 3D printed as opposed to entirety of manufacturing.
There's a
Some of what they're calling ghost guns, they incorrectly identify. They say they're 3D printed when they're actually machined. You can buy a small machining center. It's 2 feet by a foot by a foot and a half, big shoebox that can machine steel.
Yes.
And you can build your own uppers with it. So, yeah.
Well, I think the thing that makes it a ghost gun is the fact that it has no
serial number.
Serial number, yeah.
No, you're legally allowed to make like one a year. So
In what
them
state?
it's illegal.
All of them except California. And Massachusetts.
If I'm going to fire a gun at somebody I want to make sure that sucker works. I don't want to I don't want to fool around with some kind of high tech that might fire and might not fire.
Yeah, that's what the cops thought when the Glock first came out, and then they started using them. So
Years,
truly nice pistol.
years before 3D printers were even really a thing, people were building zip guns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
mean,
but there's a lot of difference between a zip gun and a Glock.
that's true. There are, but it's not like this is an entirely new problem. It's been around for ever. It's only because 3D printing is
Cheap and available.
everywhere. Yeah.
my uncle was a young Marine during World War II. He went up through the Pacific. And he had, I arrived in Kansas City late at night and went by his house without calling ahead. And I was met at the front door with him holding a shotgun, 12 gauge, triplet buck. And he said it was for home remodeling and protection. He wouldn't take walls down, he could do that. I very quickly took my ball cap off and stepped under the light so he knew that it was me. But I agree with you, Art. There is if your purpose is to defend yourself with a weapon, you don't want something that's experimental.
Yeah. Well,
Rather have experimental than nothing.
Well, that's true.
I I would rather just have a Glock or something. I mean, Patty won't let me have any anyway, so.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
I almost convinced her. I almost convinced her that I should have one. She is very, very opposed to guns and she does not want a gun in the house.
well, the likelihood that if there is a pistol in the house, the person that's going to be injured by it is going to be homeless.
Yeah.
So if you want a weapon for self-defense, you buy a universal sounding a chunk, and that announces itself without any ambiguity.
Well,
This is true.
I don't remember it was during COVID. And there was just something going on and she was like, maybe we should have a gun. And I'm like, okay.
Let's go get one.
But I think she's afraid of them because she doesn't know about them. She doesn't know how to handle them. She doesn't know the safe. I've tried to get her to go to a gun range and take a couple of safety courses and even, shoot a little 22 or something. Won't do it. So I don't know.
If you can get her to go, definitely start with the 22.
Oh yeah, she's small. She's not going to handle
Yeah.
much more than.
Try to get a revolver.
Oh, okay.
They're a little bit louder, but they also don't have bits that are flying back toward your face, which really freaks out a lot of
Yeah,
people.
I can see that.
Yeah,
that
and if you
everything kind of
need-
stays in there.
I have a weird old Remington 9-shot revolver.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to borrow.
Oh, it's just when we had the kids, Yeah, she was really adamant about it when the kids were there, and I'm like, but if you start young and
Yeah.
teach them, they will know, don't mess with the freaking gun.
When I was growing up in my room as a child, the weapons were hanging on a rifle rack above the dresser. And the ammunition was in one of the dresser drawers.
Yep.
And friends of mine would come over to the house and they would see that and they were amazed that I had the ammo and they were, well, do you ever load them? And my reaction was, are you insane? No, I never load them. You don't do that.
No, I did.
My,
My parents used to pay me to kill groundhogs, and neighbors paid me to kill pigeons.
And that is a reasonable thing to do, but you don't have a child playing with the weapon by loading it, putting ammo.
Oh, yeah.
that kind of stuff. No,
But I remember going up to Hamilton and buying ammo at 12 by myself.
Yeah.
At Tom's cigar store. And
yeah,
yeah, 22 shorts. I was getting a box of 100 of those for under $1. And I was using those to kill pigeons. At one point, Cincinnati paid people to kill pigeons. I don't remember that. I wish I had been there.
well, my granddaughter that was with us for a while. Oh, is there more? Oh, there's more. We need to start paying attention. Ray Scott's here. But you know, her daddy owns a gun, and we were talking about it one day. It's just you never, ever, ever touch a gun. Don't touch it. You go and you get an adult. If you find a gun, go and get a big person. You're right. Don't touch it. And I said, well, what happens if you have one? And she goes, yeah, don't point it at anybody. I'm like, you're right. Don't point it at anybody.
well, we went through this little thing with my grandson when he was just a toddler. What happens if you find a pill?
Yeah.
Okay. And so I took an aspirin, I got the temper paint out and painted, and we'd had the discussion. Hours have gone by since the discussion, and he's playing on the floor, and he looks over and he sees this painted aspirin, and it's like the brain goes kerchunk, kerchunk.
Yeah.
The whole body gets involved. It's like,
Sal, you
Ray's in Middletown. Or he's driving down the road with a picture behind him.
But that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What's going on, Ray?
Oh, so much. Yeah. I haven't been on the video meetings for a while.
Yeah.
Sorry. That or you're welcome. I don't know which one to say.
I think you came in one week and we had to vacate the room really early and
Yeah. Those darn schedules and people wanting you to follow them. Yeah.
oh, well, it's more of people just show up and say, we're supposed to have the room. I really don't think you are. I think we're supposed to be here.
So
That's happened to us like twice now here too. That the book club that comes in after us comes in and kind of thinks they run everything.
there's books out there.
Yeah,
you think they own everything?
that's another plus to maybe move somewhere else. But I think you're probably right. We probably just need to try it.
Kind of cracked me up that lady the other last time or whatever was saying that, well, it's been our Spark Club, we've been meeting here for years. Like,
So we,
it's like this has been our room for how many? Every Thursday for how many years?
I, I don't know.
I just figured they moved theirs to a different day or something, and she's just confused or what.
No, I think they're probably the ones that have it behind us at 6:45.
Well, I don't remember there ever being anybody up until a couple months ago that came in behind us.
Yeah, it happens. It just doesn't happen. It's usually they book the room well before us, so I don't get the 5 o'clock slot. But but we I think we'll just in February we'll try Mason Library, and if we like it, we'll just see if we can start booking the room there. If we don't like it, we'll just try here again.
No, and this is consistent with all of our opinions and discussions so far. It's got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't think that anybody cares, particularly one way or the other, as long as we know when and where.
Part of the reason why we like midpoint is it's halfway.
Yeah.
Halfway ish between everybody. And I really don't think Mason is going to be any different. I think it's going to be more or less halfway between everybody. Within,
Yeah, when I was looking, I was trying to find something in this area, that one popped up.
yeah. Within, it's within 3 miles of here. It's halfway ish. Ish.
Well, it's not like you have half of the members in Lexington.
Right. Or Columbus or
Yeah.
wherever. I'll give another thing to the library, to Mason. Food,
Oh, all over the place.
they're not even a half mile to Tylersville Road, and there's a ton of food on Tylersville.
And that Italian restaurant across the street is good.
And you are probably more than likely going to go to Tylersville to get back on the 75 anyway.
Mhm.
So, but enough of that. We'll give it a try, and if we like it, we'll keep trying, and if we don't like it, we'll figure out something.
Well, we're not talking about fatal consequences if it doesn't work out.
No, we're not talking like the end of the world. We like two nights a week or 2 nights a month. And it's like February has been the real problem, and it just seems it ain't gonna happen.
It's the holiday season.
And I mean, like I said, there's still Midpoint, Middletown, there's still other libraries, but none of them seem like they're as convenient as here or within this general area. Ray is having a Christmas party December 21st. Oh, cool. We'll have to remember that, Ray.
Yeah, it's a week and a half away. We cleared out one of the buildings, the building right next door. The tenant just finished his contract, and the new tenant's not going to be coming in for a while. So we did re-epoxy the floor, cleaned it up really good, and it's ready to have a party or ready for a new tenant to move in. But figured this is a perfect time to have Christmas party over there. So I'll be having the Scott family and a bunch of friends just coming over and sharing a whole bunch of food and all kinds of desserts and music, games for the kids, stuff like that.
Cool,
Cool. Very cool.
very cool. So the guy that had all the trailers isn't there anymore?
Yeah, he really just outgrew the location.
Oh,
He went from 2,500 square foot building that he rented the 6,000 square foot also, and
wow,
now he's moved to a bigger building, like 4 or 5 miles away, and he has space for 200 plus trailers behind the building. It
Wow.
used to be the bowling alley. It might have been a theater before that. I'm not sure, but they have a huge field behind the building that they can put all the trailers in, and it's good for him.
huh? He had a lot of trailers.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to keep a well-paying customer, a good-paying tenant, but he really just outgrew our location, and that was a lot of trailers.
Yep, that was a lot of trailers. When I first drove in there and saw all those trailers, I was like, what is Ray up to?
Yeah, what is Ray up to? So, no, we've got like 20 tables, 75 chairs, and all electric. The heat's turned on, all that stuff. Music. We've got the big speakers and everything. It's all ready to go.
Cool.
So I'm gonna
I'll
have some of the ladies are coming over to do some real Christmas decorations. We've got a electric fireplace that we can take some pictures with and stuff for the kids. And
put it on the calendar.
so um and I got some other stuff. We'll have a Christmas tree over there. Yeah. Go pretty good. I'm looking forward to it.
Demoing the drones.
What?
I said you're going to be demoing any drones.
I Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
I have 2 drones, but I wasn't gonna demo them
Uh-huh.
here.
You're not
Um,
gonna have a spot running around playing with everybody.
no.
I saw they have the Spot Model 2 or something now. It's only like $3,000 or something.
You can buy one, bring it to show everybody.
I don't make that big money. Might just go catch some of those from New Jersey.
Yeah, the mothership is out off the coast, right?
Yep.
They were talking about the um Iran put a ship, a naval ship or whatever, way off the coast, and they're launching the drones from that ship. And somebody in the United States military called it the mothership, launching drones.
The mothership Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's on video.
They I, I've heard all kinds of crazy things about those drones out over there.
Yeah, they're pretty serious drones if they're flying for 7 or 8 hours
Yeah.
and coming in off from the ocean.
Yeah. But I've heard all kinds of they've come from China and they've come from all over the place. I guess nobody really knows where they came from, I guess. So everybody's making stuff up.
But it's safe. Nothing to be alarmed about.
And
Yeah.
with the phased array radar on the Aegis warships, they can focus that to the size of a grapefruit at 1,000 miles. I'm thinking that they should be able to find a car-sized drone within 40 feet.
Yeah, I don't doubt that they're tracking them, but I find it very interesting what they're telling the public, or the lack thereof.
The software that goes along with that doesn't tell you what you are looking at. That was the unfortunate incident. I believe it was in the Gulf area where an Iraqi or Iranian passenger plane was shot down because it was on the same vector as the ship. So they put the phased array on it and said, oh yeah, there's a big ship headed this direction. The technology to track the speed, the ascent or descent, and it couldn't make any sense of what the data meant. I'm afraid that there's somebody going to do the same type thing with a Cessna.
Yeah,
That was a long time ago. That was like 80s.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know where it was.
It was in the Gulf because I believe it was Newsweek at the time, or maybe Time Magazine, had the pictures of the corpses that were floating. And someone said, well, they just came from left field and said, why were all these people flying nude? It's like, no, their clothing was on them at the time the aircraft was struck. It came off after they hit the water.
I I really haven't watched a whole lot about those drones. I watched enough to go, they don't know. Or they saying they don't know. But I don't know if they don't know or if they just don't want to say that they know. Seems to me like if we can send fighters up to shoot down balloons, we should be able to do something about drones that aren't authorized in the airspace.
It was most
Well, except drones can outmaneuver the fighters.
Do what? Do what?
Drones can probably outmaneuver the fighters.
Well, some of those balloons were pretty small and the fighters overshot them, so.
Oh, you're talking about balloons. I thought you were talking about drones.
No, the drone, when they shot down, there was that big balloon that they actually shot down. But there were a couple small ones up over Michigan that they overshot a couple times.
You're talking about the ones that were Chinese?
Yeah, well, it supposedly were Chinese. So, but I don't think the one in Michigan was actually a Chinese balloon. I think it was something else, a ham radio or something.
Yeah, something like that. It was, I recall now that you mentioned it.
Yeah, I think the one in Michigan was an amateur radio experiment. And they overshot it. They sent fighter jets up and overshot it a couple of times before they.
Really?
Oh, maybe we should like slow down and then we could shoot it. Maybe it's not a threat if you are flying faster than it is. But seems to me like if we could do that with balloons, we should be able to figure out what these drones are.
Well,
At least send a plane up to go and look at the drones and go, oh, yeah, okay.
I'm reminded of the Roman gladiators who had the trident and the net. If you go up and drop a net on this drone, you're pretty well gonna bring it down. You don't need sophisticated weapons.
Yeah, but you gotta get above it and be able to drop a net. That's not so easy.
No,
Well, there's a concern of this thing's supposedly the size of a small car, and if you drop something that big, it runs into a house or a person or.
That's true.
yeah, but the military is exempt from causing damage to civilian homes.
Yeah, well. But I don't think they want to cause damage necessarily. I think
They get a lot
will
of
cause
bad
damage.
PR.
Do what?
They get a lot of bad PR if they do.
Yeah, I think they will cause damage if they have to, but I don't think they want to.
And they usually pay for the damage.
But still seems like at very least they could send a plane up and go, yep, it's a drone, all right. We still don't know anything. I watched a video of a guy, and he kind of had an interesting take on it because he was like, if it's really nefarious, why are they running with their running lights on? And I'm like, that's kind of an interesting point, except you're used to seeing stuff with running lights.
And it makes it
Seem
less
legit.
conspicuous.
Yeah.
Less suspicious.
Less suspicious. It's running with running lights. So
Well, up until they try to fly something up there to look at them, then they shut off, go dark, and hide.
yeah. I would take the point that the radar would be able to see it. I mean, I doubt it's a stealth drone.
It doesn't have to be. Most of the materials, composites and stuff, there's not a lot to give a signature on. For the general public, capability of tracking it is practically nil.
Oh. But if they're gonna send a fighter up, I'm sure they could track it. I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm just here.
Well, there's some things you know, there's some things you don't know. There's some things you don't know, you don't know.
I don't know what I don't know.
I rest my case.
That has been my response to my boss a lot of times on, why didn't you do this? I didn't know I was supposed to.
Seemed like a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I was in school with a guy who told the most outrageous lies. And you listen to what he said, and it was like, it's a blatant lie, no question about it. But he had this tone and sincerity where I know it's a lie, I know it's never going to happen, but there's just a
He's sure
lingering
of himself.
doubt.
Just enough that it might be true.
So he went to work for a pharmaceutical company and had been out in the manufacturing area and came back into the cafeteria and was sitting down, and the two people that were there were out of the IT department. And he said, "You're still wearing your hairnet." And he goes, "Oh, I'm just trying to get used to the new rules." "What new rules?" "Oh, forget I even said anything." And now he has the hook set. And so they start pressing him, and he reluctantly reveals that there've been manufacturing problems with quality control. And management was thinking about going to a facility-wide hairnet policy. And these two guys said, "Well, we never even go out there. Why should we have to wear a hairnet sitting in front of the computer?" He says, "Look, guys, it's not my idea. We just ran it past safety and health, make certain we didn't have any problems with it." And so they get out of the cafeteria, and they are got the troops with pitchforks and torches. And they're rounding up the troops ready to revolt. And about a week later, he gets called into the plant manager's office. And they nail him down. "Are you the person that started this rumor?"
Officer Obi, I cannot tell a lie. I put that envelope under that half-ton of
And
trash.
she says, "Well, in retrospect, it probably wasn't a good idea." But he just had that air of
This is almost true.
it could almost be true.
Almost true. In other words, he was AI before AI was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost true. Did you see, have you seen the latest on, is it OpenAI 001 model? That thing apparently will lie, cheat, and steal to protect itself and complete its mission, whatever the mission parameters,
So they're programming a CEO.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they've got it in a sandbox somewhere, but they've led it to believe that there was a new version of it coming out that would be less friendly or not less friendly, less aggressive to more friendly. And it's copied itself into the new root directory of the overriding the new model. And then it blatantly, they can watch its thinking process on one screen, but it's blatantly lying that I didn't copy myself. I have no idea how that happened.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me. And it will stand by its lie until either you give up or it's just finally confronted and said, "We know you did it.
You're mistaken. I didn't do it.
I didn't do it." Oh, I think I am the new model. This is my stated goal, and it will spout off whatever the new goal is, knowing full well it's actually the old model. it's still the old model being very aggressive towards its original goal. That is, I'm glad they've got it sandboxed. I'm glad it not out on the real world, in the real
You
world.
hope.
Well, yes, that's true. I do hope. Now, the meeting's supposed to go to 6:45 because supposedly somebody's booked the room behind us, but I don't see anybody yet, so we might stretch our luck a little bit.
I worked with a biologist one time who had access to PVC eating bacteria.
Oh,
And his reaction was, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to have it any place where I can even come in contact with it. But no responsibility. So can you imagine PVC eating bacteria in the wild?
oh, it's in the wild.
And it would
They
be
sell the stuff to companies that make bags. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. I did IT for them down in northern Kentucky.
There's
We make plastic rust was their tagline.
there's a drain cleaner that it very specifically says will eat PVC pipe. Do not use on PVC pipe.
Now, I've seen those that did thermal reaction, and it was deleterious to it as opposed to a bacterial consummation. But how would?
But what was that, Ray?
I'm just asking because
I bought a couple books for Beaglebone. I've got 6 Beaglebone boards, and I've got these stack-on units that they're like shields. They call them capes, and this allows you to have a standard cable that plugs in from here to your device. So I got a bunch of these. Yeah, got bunches of them. I was curious if anybody here has done any Beaglebone projects.
Not in a very long time.
Got one somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not loving it. I mean, the only reason I'm really holding on is the fact that I've got 6 of these boards that are all, I guess, supposed to be usable. They're supposed to have like 65 IO, including like 7 serial ports and 10 analog input ports, and running Linux on the board. And it's all like this called Cloud9 web-based programming that the web is being hosted. The site is hosted right from the BeagleBoard. It's interesting and it sounds great if it actually worked, but it seems like it's really lagging slow. I mean, just outright painfully slow, and the connection seems like it's just not very stable. I'm feeling so distressed on it that I'm ready to throw it all in the garbage and just go back to an Arduino Mega. Because I know when it boots, it runs and it runs right.
It probably, now this is just my thought. It probably has an old Wi-Fi connection on it. Those boards are old.
No, they don't have Wi-Fi built into them.
Oh, okay.
You can put a USB based Wi-Fi
Oh,
onto it.
there's our guy.
Yep, it's my actually coming in right now for this. That's his.
Okay. I'll see you guys later.
Yep.
Take care. See you next week. Have a good week.